Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to episode 21 of my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. Today, I'd like to talk to you about beauty. I got so many questions and comments from episode 18 of my podcast, Why Don't You Think You're Beautiful? It seemed like a good idea to return to the topic so we could discuss it more in depth. As I discussed in episode 18, the definition of beauty is that which gives pleasure to the mind and the senses. Upon discovering the definition of beauty, it occurred to me that beauty is what gives me pleasure. Before I discovered this definition, I was stuck in the construct of what other people told me that beauty was. In fact, I can remember when I was 12 years old. I remember hanging out with my friends. I was attracted to someone because they were funny or because we had a similar interest. And then one day I noticed my girlfriend was getting a lot of attention from a group of boys, and I heard them say, "She's beautiful." And then she also got attention from some girls as well. And that was the day that I realized that there was this definition, there was this thing called beauty, and if you were beautiful, you get more attention. And I spent most of my life chasing that definition, changing who I was, changing what I said, all to chase this construct to be accepted to what's beautiful. And then when I discovered this definition of beauty was really about what gave me pleasure, it changed everything for me because it had nothing to do with what the outside world said. But because this idea had been with me so long that I find that I still go back and forth with feeling pleasure and pain when it comes to the idea of beauty. And that takes me to my shopping trip today. I have a wonderful talk that's coming up in the next couple of weeks and I need to get a new outfit. And my dear friend, who's a well-known costume designer, was going to go shopping with me. She has dressed some of the most famous actresses in the world today. And I couldn't believe how lucky I was that she would come with me to go shopping. We had a wonderful breakfast and then we walked to the store. And everybody in the store was extremely nice. And as I started to try on clothes, I got a glimpse of myself in the mirror. I saw my legs and I saw my arms and I started to feel pain. And I was very aware before I went into that dressing room, I was joyful, I was happy, I was excited. And then I looked at my leg and I thought, wow, that leg is so white. Look at all your cellulite. Look at how big your arms are. And that old story, that old construct came right back, and I felt pain everywhere. I felt down. I felt sad. I felt almost like I had to leave the store. And all that happened was that I saw myself in the mirror, and I lost all sense of myself, all sense of my wholeness, all sense of my self-love, all sense of my worth. And then my friend Sarah got a glimpse of me as well. And then I thought to myself, well, that's it. Now Sarah really knows what I look like. It was such an old story of mine, and a story I know many of us feel when we're trying on clothes or we're in a store or in a dressing room. But at that moment, just at that moment when I felt the pain, I asked myself what the pain was from. And at that moment, I remembered, I caught myself, and I remembered the definition of beauty. Beauty is what gives pleasure to my mind and my senses. Beauty to me was my friend who was giving me her expertise for the day, of going out for breakfast and having a wonderful cup of coffee. What pleased my senses is I know I had a talk in a couple of weeks, and how lucky I was to be able to buy a new outfit. There was so much pleasure. And then I thought about what was giving me pain. What was giving me pain is that I was looking at my body in a way that I've been taught to view my body. But when I really looked at it, I asked myself, does how my legs look really give me pleasure? Does how my arms look really give me pleasure? Or is the experience I'm having with my friend what gives me pleasure? The beautiful day that gives me pleasure? My ability to help people and work with people and give a talk in a couple weeks, that's what gives me pleasure. And I looked at my leg again and I said, what part of my leg gives me pleasure? And the only part of my leg that gives me pleasure is the part that enables me to walk from one store to the next. That enabled me to walk with my friend on this beautiful day from breakfast to that store. And I asked myself, what gives me pleasure about my arms? Do the shape of my arms really give me pleasure? Or do my arms give me pleasure because they allow me to eat? They allow me to hug my friend. They allow me to put a shirt on. And every part of my body was working for me so I can enjoy the pleasures of life. And the color of my leg and the cellulite on my leg really didn't give me pleasure or pain. But I gave that meaning. And as I stood there and realized I gave my leg meaning, I looked at my leg and I thought, walking leg. That is a walking leg. And I looked at my arm, and instead of seeing this construct that was given to me, I saw that is a hugging arm. That shape arm is for hugging. That shape arm is for moving. That shape arm is for doing yoga. That shape arm is for eating. And I created a new meaning in that moment. And those were the meanings that gave me pleasure. And all of a sudden, I just saw my beauty. And I felt so light and I felt so happy. And I said, I am so blessed to have these arms and legs, to be able to walk to this store, to be able to try on clothes. I am so lucky to be able to hug my friend and thank her for this beautiful day. And all of a sudden, the definition of beauty came back to me. And I know many of us have this experience when we shop or when we look in the mirror. But all we're doing most of the time is allowing someone else to define what gives us pleasure. Most of us don't even realize what gives us pleasure because we've been told who we need to be. Sometimes the thought of who we need to be puts us in pain because it's not aligned with who we want to be. And that's where this whole construct of beauty becomes very difficult for many of us. I hope the story about me in the dressing room today addresses some of the questions about the process of what happens when we start to feel bad about ourselves. So if we're going to look at it as an exercise, first we need to come to the awareness that we're actually feeling bad about ourselves because of something on our body or something, how we look or how we're perceiving ourselves. And the second thing is we have to look at what the definition of beauty is. Do you accept that definition? That beauty is the pleasure you receive in your mind and your senses, and what gives you pleasure. And if you're feeling pain when you're looking at yourself, then there's something that's out of line. There's something that's not working. Are you not recognizing your true beauty? Are you letting somebody from the outside define it for you? What truly gives you pleasure? And then also, what meaning are you giving to it? That's the interesting thing. A lot of times people can't separate something because they give it meaning that doesn't really belong there. I was giving meaning to the cellulite, meaning to the whiteness, when in actuality, it doesn't really mean anything. The thought of what my leg needs to be other than help me walk doesn't give me pleasure. When I think of my legs as something I used to walk to do all the wonderful things, I see beauty in my legs. That's the thing. In order to find true beauty, you have to find what's really meaningful to you. Your internal definition of beauty will last a lifetime. It will give you joy. It will help you release pain. You'll have more courage. You'll have more self-love because you'll be willing to see who you truly are, and not only just see it, you'll be willing to love it. And don't forget, each body part has meaning, but you give it that meaning. You give your face meaning. You give your hair meaning. You decide what things really mean. But beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder, and you have a choice how you will see yourself. And you have a choice of what gives you pleasure. And you have a choice to let go of the pain, let go of the construct of what everyone's telling you need to be and what you need to look like. You only need to look like you. And when you embrace your beauty, you will find courage. You will find resilience. You will be open. You will be joyful. And I promise you, you will attract the right opportunities and the right people in your life. And that is the most beautiful life of all. So thank you for listening to my podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you like this podcast, you can leave a review on iTunes. If you'd like to purchase my book, The Gift of Maybe, it's available at all major bookstores and online retailers. If you struggle with your body when you look in the mirror, if you struggle when you go clothes shopping, and I hope you will consider the idea that beauty is what gives pleasure to your mind and your senses. And I hope you take the opportunity to look in your inner world, to discover what true beauty is to you, so you can live a more authentic life and live with more peace, love, and abundance, and most of all, meaning.